Good morning, listeners. The date is March 18th, 2024, and you are listening to the 11th episode of a New Era podcast. My name is Hanson, better known as Fryddy online, and I'm here with my dad, the OG Frid. Dad, would you like to say hello to the listeners this morning?
Good morning, listeners. Good morning there, Fryddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Very excited for this episode here.
I'm excited and very excited. I know we're not doing weekend recap off the beginning. If we have time, we'll do it later, but not a recap of the weekend. I think one of the biggest important things that happened in North Carolina this week was online betting.
Online betting, definitely. We mentioned it last week, even though we recorded early, how it was going live. And for you listeners out there, me and the OG Frid have been sharp. We've been sharp this week. We've been throwing stuff out throughout the week. There's a lot of college basketball for championship week this week that was fun to watch and giving us the ability to scout out some of these teams that we're going to be placing in our bracket later on today, and alongside that, we picked up some wins and some easy no-brainers and some funny parlays too. So it's been a good week for you in the books too.
It's been a good week. Ready to deposit some of that back in the account. Mom wasn't too. She was actually really kind of happy. She was like, "You won that off of just that little amount you put in."
Some of the welcome promos for, some of the people that don't know about it or aren't in North Carolina. They were giving you hundreds of bonus bets, dollars, and stuff like that. And as long as you're not stupid and trying to throw it on, freaking James
Duke
Madison to win it all, or Duke to win,
Duke to win
the ACC championship, or Carolina
on my part. Yeah, very dumb.
Well, I bet them both, and both of them lost, but it's fine because then NC State gets to go out there and steal a bid, but that's fine. We'll get into them a little later, like Dad mentioned here. So we're going to start off the highly anticipated bracket podcast, as we've been talking about for the last couple weeks. We're going to go through our whole bracket here together and talk through these games. We're going to have to agree on some picks that we're probably going to disagree on, but by the end of this episode, you will know our whole entire bracket, what we're doing for March Madness, the one that will be entered into our bracket challenge group that is available now on ESPN Tournament Challenge. If you go there and search up a new era bracket challenge, a new era, just like our name is on the podcast, it should pop up there. Password is Boston. You can go ahead, join in there. I believe we'll have some gifts and some prizes for the winner, in a couple weeks, whoever has the best bracket in the group. So go ahead and join in there. It's free to join and free to compete with us, and you can have something to root on, maybe if your team isn't in March Madness this year. So
yeah, a lot of participation. Let's go. Let's get this. Let's get you listeners. We know we have a bunch out there from across the country, couple countries out there as well. If you are in England and Mexico and Brussels and Russia and Canada, come on, you can. We'll send, if you think you can beat us, we'll even send it out there. If you guys beat us, your prize.
Well, and you've got a leg up on us because you get to hear our whole entire bracket today. You'll have 4 days to place yours, but you could go through and pick everything we pick. You could fade us entirely and pick every other pick that we pick. So it's up to you. Good luck, everybody. We'll see how it goes, and this should be fun. But so how we're gonna do this? We're going to start up with UConn, the number 1 overall seed. We'll move over to Houston, the number 2 overall seed. Then we'll move down to the Midwest with Purdue. And then we'll finish off with North Carolina's region, the West,
Surprise number one. What the?
Yeah, we'll get into that. Um, we'll go round to 64 through all, and then we'll go round to 32. We'll make circles around, so we're not just gonna go through the whole region at once. We've got lines here, betting lines courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook and FanDuel Sportsbook. If there's any difference, we'll definitely be bringing those up because, like we mentioned, we can do this now. we can put in some. And I'll tell you, I checked these lines as soon as they came out. Like it was done at 7. I've already fallen in line. I've already fallen in love with 2 underdog lines. I don't know if I want to touch it yet, but I love them. So we'll get into those. Yeah, once we get into those games too. But
love DraftKings. Remember, we're looking for a partner, a sponsor.
Exactly.
Hashtag DraftKings.
So, starting off here with the number 1 overall seed, the Big East champion, the only number 1 seed who ended up winning their conference tournament this past week.
Yep.
Because a lot of them just went out there and shit the bed. We've got UConn versus number 16 seed Stetson.
Who?
Exactly. Stetson University. Points per game here, we got 81.5 from UConn, 64.5 on the defensive end, 77.5 for Stetson on the offensive end, and playing defense, 72.8 points per game there. BPI ranking has UConn at 2nd and Stetson at 177. Keep in mind, 1 seeds are 152 versus 16 seeds. We had our 2nd upset ever last year with number 1 overall seed Purdue losing to FDU. UConn is out here and they're on a mission because they want to be the first defending champs since, I think it was 06, 07 or 07, 08, Florida. Yep. They bring back a lot of guys. Their team last year had those 2 guards that did end up leaving, but they were able to fill in those points in those spots with just great depth, and they've got great depth on the bench. They've got that guy Donovan Klingen, I think, who has just absolutely blown up throughout this year, and one of their big guys that you can look to in the big moments. They dominated the Big East tournament. I will say, I don't think they have it here. Yeah, they don't have their Big East tournament thing here. They do, actually. They played Marquette.
Yep.
Yeah, played Marquette in the Big East championship, 73-57 win, and then they beat St. John's the day before, 95-90. The St. John's game was close, but I don't think anybody anticipated. I mean, the day before, St. John's had just put up 91 on Seton Hall, and then they come back and put 90 on UConn. So I don't know if we necessarily look to point that out as UConn fucking up or UConn playing it soft rather than St. John's just playing out of their mind to try to win this Big East tournament. Line-wise, I got to be able to find this. I wish this was in a little better of a order.
Why you look that up? I just see this incredible stat here. Okay. UConn has registered 120.5 points per 100 possessions.
Yeah.
Are you our favorite Boston Celtics, who've been on a roll 4-0 this past week? They've generated 121.9 points per 100% possessions.
I did see that stat. I think I saw that on Twitter yesterday. It was crazy to think about. I've got the lines here on DK. We've got UConn favored by 26.5 points. Over under is set at 144.5. Looking at some statistics that might mean something here. Shooting efficiency, you've got UConn at number 8 in the nation, 1.192. An opponent's shooting efficiency at 0.991. Number 6th in the nation, whereas Stetson, we look over shooting efficiency, 50th in the nation, 1.140, offensive shooting or opponent shooting efficiency, 1.9 1.095, 224th in the nation. So defensively, they're going to be in some trouble against UConn, I think. If I were to think of any one seed that wasn't going to win, it's not going to be these guys. I think we can go ahead and pretty easily throw UConn to the second round. I don't know if I'll be taking 26.5. That's a big line.
I'd take the over in this.
The over?
Yeah.
Only thing that worries me, though, is you think you get 25 minutes in and it just starts to be a blowout too much that, the pace of play slows down and, UConn takes out some of their good guys. You think that can it still hit 144?
I think we're looking at, easy 100 points for UConn at the very minimum. And then, 40, 50 from, maybe even 70, 170.
I was going to say maybe 70. Maybe you go like 102, 71 or something. Yeah. They hit the line. I won't touch the 26.5, but we're going to pick UConn to go ahead and advance here. Moving on to the next game, who they would play in the second round then. We've got number 8 seed Florida Atlantic versus number 9 seed Northwestern. The 8-9 matchups are always a good time. This one specifically, I like a lot. You've got FAU here, 82.5 points per game, 73.3 given up. Northwestern, 73.7 points per game, 69 given up. BPI rank has these teams very close with FAU at 35 and Northwestern at 39. Do remember this FAU team made that Cinderella run last year at 31-2 or whatever they were to make it to the Final Four, but couldn't get there to cut down the nets. So they're out here looking for some redemption. But I don't necessarily know if it's going to be this year. We've got FAU favored on DraftKings at 2.5 points, over under set at 141. We might already disagree on game 2 here. Where are you going to go in this game?
I am going to go, even though Northwestern did beat Purdue and Illinois during the year. And, obviously the Big Ten versus the American Athletic Conference supposedly or should be tougher competition and all, but I love, coach is hot, Dustin May. Love the fact that they, obviously went deep last year, returning some of these kids to come back. I'm going to Florida Atlantic. I like them to win.
Yeah, so we are disagreeing already. The thing that really gives it to me here, and I looked at this last night and I was already on Northwestern. I think I'm going to be on Northwestern plus 2.5 spread anyways to keep this close. I don't think it has anything to do with FAU. I think this is going to be a game in which Northwestern is defensively going to try to control the tempo and control the game there. The thing that worries me a little bit about Northwestern here is I don't know if they're necessarily, I'm trying to find it here, field goal percentage or 3-point percentage. Opponent 3-point. Oh, this might just put me on FAU with you. FAU struggles with teams that defend the 3 really well. They're shooting the 3 at a 35.6% clip on the year, 85th in the nation. But then you look over to Northwestern on the defensive side of the ball, 311th in the nation, allowing 35.9% from the 3-point line. FAU, they did fall flat on their face in the American Athletic Conference tournament this year, on Thursday, because I believe they had a bye. They might have had 2. They fell flat on their face. Didn't look too good, but I think they knew that they were safely past the bubble and were going to make it, and I think they were turning their eyes forward to this one. Where I thought I was going to go Northwestern, I don't think I need. I don't think I need anything more here. You look at this too. One of the biggest things with these tight games, especially ones with Northwestern, like I said, where they're going to look to control the pace and everything. Florida Atlantic ranks 93rd in the nation in pace of play and the possessions per game at 72.5. And then you got Northwestern all the way at the bottom at 334th in the nation, 67 possessions per game. So while I do think Northwestern could try to keep this to be a dogfight and keep this low scoring, I think the edge is just going to barely have to go to FAU with their.
And let me give you this. Let me give you this. Ty Berry is out, season-ending meniscus tear, and the center Matthew Nicholson, he's recovering from a foot injury. So your guard, who's done well, he's out for Northwestern.
Yeah, I was seeing
Two
that when I was
injuries.
into this
Yep.
last night. And yeah, you've got 4 days here to try to game plan for this and prepare. But I think when you're trying to overcome some losses like that on the offensive and defensive end against another team, both of these teams are going in here, with nothing to lose. I mean, your season ends if you lose in this first round. You're going to be getting everybody's 110% effort. And I think in order to keep up with this team that has the experience of making that run, you're going to need your team at full strength. And I think because that's not there, we're going to pick FAU to advance here to the second round. All right, moving down the list.
So far, after first two games, my bracket is perfect.
What do you mean perfect? We haven't had a fucking gameplay.
well, I mean, our choices.
Yeah, well, I just folded to fucking FAU for you there. All right. Our first 5-12 matchup. San Diego State, the 5th seed, versus UAB, the 12th seed. Do you have some stats to bring up here while I look up these lines?
Well, I'm looking here. Jaden Lee D, who averaged 18 minutes per game last season, was a reserve, has now gone on to become their top scorer, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 41% beyond the arc. Looks like team, we got 30% of its 3-pointers were made in its final. I mean, yes, they won 8-7 in their final 15 regular season games, shot only 30% from the 3-point line, but I'm leaning towards San Diego.
Okay. Well, we've got San Diego State favored by 6.5, over under set at 137. When I said at the start of this episode that I was already falling in love with the lines of two underdogs, one of them was UAB. And I know that it's going in our favor because this line opened up at 7.5 points and it's now down to 6.5. I still don't think it worries me. I still think betting wise, I'm going to be taking UAB plus 6.5. We always love to look for these 5-12 upsets. And I think I'm gonna stick it here. I'm gonna go UAB to advance. I don't know if you watched much of the AAC tournament last week, but the great part about championship week is, I was watching college basketball all day, every day, from Monday to Sunday. It was always on. It was on the TV. It was on somewhere. And this UAB team made a run and won the AAC. Now, yes, they did play Temple in the championship game, and Temple isn't a good team, but they made a good run to try to get into the tournament. Ended up being a blowout there at the end. I think it was like 85-66 or something like that. But this UAB team, man, they also beat USF.
And we
USF
loved USF. Yeah.
loved USF. USF was an absolute wagon against ECU. Good old alma mater here. Absolute wagon versus ECU in the second round or third round, I think, because I think they technically have buys. They were like 6.5 point favorites. Absolutely dominated that game by 30. UAB defensively was just a presence. They were always there. And then the thing that was really good for them offensively is, they had a lot of good ball movement. Their offense does try to work around Chris Youngblood, who was the AAC Player of the Year, I believe, in the conference. Did have some underwhelming games, but throughout the tournament, but was shooting the three at a good clip. You got San Diego State here, who does defend the three really well. 20th in the nation, defends it at a 30.5% clip. But they are shooting threes for themselves at one of the worst in the nation, 307th, 31.3% shooting efficiency. They're 192, so less than middle of the pack. Defensively, number 29th in the nation at 1.016 shooting efficiency. Then you look over at UAB, also kind of middle of the pack shooting efficiency, 171 in the nation. Defensively, 221st. Not the best that you want to see, but and the more I look at these stats, the more it's kicking UAB's ass. But I feel like this might just be a gut play, man.
You know what? And I'm reading here that UAB, if it's a tight game, 6.5 points, not a pick 'em, obviously in San Diego's favor, and that's probably only because they're given the higher rated seed, but they're saying that UAB gets to the free throw line quite one of the highest rates in basketball and in the nation. So if it's going to be tight, going to come down to the line, UAB hopefully will get to the line and be able to either keep it close under that 6.5 or outright win.
And a big differential here is I brought this up last game. This is one of my favorite stats to look at when it comes to betting college basketball is the pace of play. You got San Diego State 217th in the nation, 69.9 possessions per 100. I believe that's what it comes out to. UAB then 110th in the nation, 71.8 possessions per 100 or per game there. I think that this is just going to be one of those games. And now, yes, keep in mind, San Diego State did make a run last year, too. They did make it to, I believe, to the national championship to play UConn and lost that game. They're experienced. They've got some vets. But I still think at the end of the day, this is just going to come down to a tight game. Like you're saying, come down to the free throws. I think UAB sticks in it. I don't think San Diego State is as scary as they were last year.
Let's go for our first upset here. Yep.
For the 12-5.
Yeah.
I like it. So we're taking UAB to beat San Diego State there. Moving on to the 4-13 matchup. Oh, perfect. The line is right here. Jeez. Auburn favored by 13 points. Over under set at 138.5. Now this one, both of these teams did end up going and winning their conference tournaments, so saw a lot of them last week. Yale barely beating Brown by a buzzer beater in a game that should not have been close.
No,
but
I lost that one.
Yeah, but also I don't think that's anything to take away from Yale. I think that's just Brown was playing really fucking good basketball and looking to be able to just find their way into that tournament. Yale rebounds the ball very well, I do know. But outside of that, I think they shoot the three okay. And I think that's what they would need to be able to do to beat Auburn here. Auburn is a good team. They
Auburn's a
definitely
very
had
good team.
some disappointment games throughout the year, but once it gets into March, and you got Bruce Pearl, who just
Yep, I was
who
going to say that.
motivates this team. I mean, I'm looking at stats here. They are one of the greatest offensive and defensive efficiency teams in the nation. You've got 27th in offensive efficiency, 1.162, and you've got 0.977, number 3 defensive efficiency in the nation. You look at Yale side of the ball, 128th overall offensive efficiency, 1.098, and defensively they are 108th, 1.059. So they definitely are giving up more points defensively there. Rebounding wise, I think that was a big point for Yale. Like I said, at least throughout the Ivy League tournament, they've got 35.8 total rebounds per game, coming in at 123rd in the nation, giving up 32.6, which is 55th in the nation. You look at Auburn, 37.9 rebounds per game offensively, 51st in the nation, and giving up 34.6, which is 166th in the nation there. So whereas I think this game would need to come down to Yale beating them on the boards and beating them by 3, or beating them by the 3-point line, I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it against this, what can be fast-paced or what can be a slow-paced Auburn team. That's the scariest part about them. They can play down to the pace of a snail if they want to, or they can run with you like they did with Florida in the SEC championship game against those higher-paced teams. I think that their adaptability and just their defense that's going to be able to carry over to March. I mean, you look at this. Yes, they are a 4 seed, but BPI ranked at number 4 in the nation. I'm gonna take Auburn here. I think I might have Auburn making a little run, but
now I guess the only thing you could say is Yale's coming up a lot more fresher in the fact that their tournament, because they only had 2 rounds. Auburn had to run through the gauntlet of the SEC to make the finals. But I mean, 13 points. I would take Auburn 13 because I think it's going to be 17, 18 point, 20 point win.
Yeah, I don't know. At first, I almost want to go Yale plus 13, but this might just be one of the games that I don't bet. I want to see how this line moves throughout the week. If it gets pushed up there to 15, 16, I'll probably take Yale even more so, but it's going to start to worry me if more of the money is coming in on Auburn there. I think if you're betting anything in this game, over under set at 138. I'm probably going to go under.
Under, yeah. And if you like Auburn, which obviously we both do, and you want to bet this game, as Hanson put out, I would take it now because, yes, that spread is going to go further. And the higher it gets, yeah, I would be a little more worrisome. But if you like Auburn, take it today at 13 because I think they'll win by over 13. But if it gets, as you said, 16, 17, even though I think it'll be a 20-point win, but I might be sweating it out at that high. So
yeah,
take it now.
I think take it now. I'd probably play Auburn up to 15 points. Anything above 15, I say don't touch it. But we're going to take Auburn here. All right, moving on to our next game. We've got the 6-11 matchup. BYU and I always fuck this up. This is Duquesne, right?
Duquesne.
That's how you say it?
Yep.
Okay. Duquesne, man. This team was fucking fun to watch last week, I tell you. There's also there's a little bit of emotion behind Duquesne. I think this is also their first tournament appearance in since 1979 or something like that, 77.
77, first time, yep.
First time. There's also, I saw this before the final, which is part of the reason why I bet Duquesne in the championship game yesterday. I also bet the under. We hit that. I was sharp. But There's a story behind it. I think something with it might be the coach's wife. I think beat breast cancer, and they had throughout the tournament. They had a bunch of family, a bunch of friends there supporting, hyping up the team. The team was playing for something more than themselves. Definitely let the emotion carry them through to the A10 championship there. However, after a little bit of a layoff, 4 days, you got to travel. We're going to Omaha for this game. This one's going to be an early tip at 12:40 on, is this Thursday? It is. Second game of the tournament. You got a very early game against a BYU team that throughout the Big 12 tournament, yes, granted, they did lose to, I think it was Texas Tech, but they played UCF first round and tore them apart from 3. This BYU team, I was watching it all last week, and I was like, they could be dangerous come the tournament next week because this team can fucking shoot it. And they don't care about bad shots. They will pull it, and it's so fun to watch. The one thing about it is these teams that depend and live and die so much by the 3, if they're not hitting, it's going to be a long game for BYU. Granted, I think they can score okay down in the paint, but they definitely prefer to stay beyond the arc and try to build the lead there. And if you look at Duquesne, offensive three-point efficiency, 53rd in the nation, holding teams to a 31.7% clip, 69th in the nation in just opponent shooting efficiency. At 1.038. Offensively, Duquesne is nothing special here. So I do think in order for Duquesne to win this game, they're going to need to control the pace. They're going to need to keep the ball out of BYU's hands as much as they can. And if they are shooting it, they got to get a hand up. They got to be in their face across the three-point line. I don't think we mentioned the line here on this one. BYU is favored by 8 points, over under set at 142. I think that this line is made because of the fact that BYU has such great three-point shooting. But 8 points is a lot, man.
Yeah, 4 of their players have made 37% of the threes.
37?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But I like the Cinderella story here. This was going to be my first upset pick. I like Duquesne. Again, you're sitting there, you're so dependent on making that 3. As you said, it's going to be an early game.
Shots don't fall too well that early on in the day.
No.
I mean, and we have it here. I mean, obviously, we're looking from Eastern time, 12:40. But in Omaha, is going to be a game that they're an hour behind, 11:40. You're getting up
going to be in the stands.
Well, there'll be people in the stands. It's March Madness. Well, yeah. But you're getting up, you're playing this game before noon. You got to start to get warmed up by like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
The shots are going to take a little to fall. You've had a rest of, BYU didn't make it past the second round. I think they were out on Friday. So you're going to have a rest of 6 days along with travel. I think I like Duquesne plus 8. I think I would still take BYU to win this game because I think that they could just do it. But if you want to go Duquesne here, I don't mind it. But we're doing it based off the fact that we think BYU's threes are not going to fall that early in the day. And even if they do start falling, it's going to be a little too late, and Duquesne's going to be able to hold them as best as they can for a first-round matchup. So we'll take Duquesne here. All right, moving on here, we got Illinois, the 3-14 matchup, Illinois versus Morehead State.
I'm also going to throw this out. Just threw this up. Duquesne is located in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
A lot closer than I would say. I mean, you're going...
Probably not. BYU's in Provo.
Yeah. But I think BYU is in the mountain time.
In Utah. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going back.
They're going forward an hour.
Right. And Pittsburgh's going.
They're going
forward
back
an
an hour. Remember,
No.
it's 7:39
yeah,
here.
yeah, that's
It would
right.
be
I'm sorry.
6:39.
Yeah.
They're going back an hour. BYU's going forward an hour.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's an earlier game for them, even more so.
True. Good point to bring up the time change there. Yeah. All right. I can settle on Duquesne there.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. And
I just wanted
Yeah,
to,
I'm good.
have my voice in here at some point.
yeah, I'm good with that because I mean, you like BYU. I like BYU, but
I love
mean, I
BYU
feel like I go-
going in.
I know, and I feel like I go through these brackets every year though, and I end up finishing the bracket. And I'm like, damn it, this looks too fucking chalky. Like I hate it.
Yeah.
And there could be some weird games. This could be one of those toss-up games. We're going to take Duquesne. Moving on to this 3-14 matchup, we got Illinois Morehead State. This is the fifth game on Thursday, so the fifth earliest. We got them at 3, going to tip around 3:15. I think they have a game before them, so it may depend on when that one ends. But 3:15 p.m., Illinois favored by 12 points. Over-under is set at 146.5. Go ahead and take the reins here on this one first. What do you like here?
I mean, you're sitting here. So I'm looking at the ESPN website. So they have all the teams listed. Number one, or in obviously the seeds, and then listed. And this is not in obviously alphabetical order. ESPN puts them as the top number 3 seed. Tournament ceiling. Sweet 16. I think this is a no-brainer. Again, Big Ten team went, somewhat deep, right, in the tourney.
They won their tourney. They won the Big Ten.
So I would take Illinois.
Yeah, I think we're taking Illinois. I don't know if you watched any of that Big Ten tournament, but they've got a guy in Terrence Shannon Jr. who, when you think about March and you think about teams that are primed to make a deep run, you need one of those guys. You need a star that you don't worry about, getting the ball in his hands and making it happen. I mean, when this team is on and when he's shooting it well, this dude went and I think he broke the record for most points scored in a Big Ten tournament. He had 34 in the final, he had 40 in the semifinal, and he had 28 in the first game that they played. Morehead State is a very good defensive team, keeping opponents shooting 25th in the nation at 40.9% clip, shooting efficiency defensively 24th in the nation at 1.011. Offensively, I mean, they're all right. 56th in the nation, 1.135 shooting efficiency. They're shooting not super well from 3, but they do defend it pretty well. But Illinois, when you look at some of these stats, man, I mean, 34th in the nation of offensive efficiency, 36th in the nation in defensive efficiency. They shoot the 3 at a 35% clip. Terrence Shannon Jr., I'm thinking of like Shannon Sharp here, is going to have another game. They're going to bring elite offense and some pretty elite defense to this one. I like Illinois here, and I like Illinois to maybe be primed to make a pretty deep run in this East.
Deep per se. I think they're going to lose when it gets into the Sweet 16. But yeah, they'll make a run. I mean, this is definitely Illinois to lose.
Yeah. Are you siding anywhere here on the bets? 12-point favorite, Illinois, 146.5 over? Under?
I think I'd take Illinois in the points, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll take Illinois in the points, playable up to 14, maybe. All right, so Illinois advances. We've got the next game, Washington State and Drake. This is the last game of Thursday, going to tip off around 10:10 Eastern Time p.m. You got Drake. Drake is a minus 1 point favorite right now, actually. I know that they've been gaining a lot of traction, but they are the favorite by 1, over-under set at 138. They're the favorite on the money line, 112 to 108. If you remember, this Drake team was the one to play Miami last year in the first round. Played them pretty tough. Miami did end up going and making a run, I think, all the way to the Final Four where they lost to UConn. Drake averages 80.5 points per game, 70.5 on the defensive end. These teams not too far off on the BPPI rank. Washington State at 42nd, Drake at 52nd. I don't know, we might be going heavy underdog here, heavy upset, but I think this one's pretty clear. I like Drake.
I do too. And one of the things here, you got Tucker DeVries. He's the son. Yeah, son of a coach. You always got to love that son coach or dad coaching his son kind of thing when you come into the tournament. I think Butler did that a few years back.
Not Butler. It was who was it? Georgia State, right? With God, I can't remember his name. It was the coach that fell out of the chair and like tore his Achilles. Was it Georgia State? I think they were playing Baylor or something. I think it might have been.
I mean, they're talking about how the Bulldogs beat Nevada by 19 at one point and just by 1 after February 3rd. Their shooting and their defense has been up and down throughout this year. Maybe that's why it's a 1 point. They're 1 point favorite. I mean, this is almost a pick 'em. And if you look at a 7-10, even though Washington State, per ESPN, has them looking deep going into the tourney, I'm with you too. I like Drake. I put them down as one of my upsets as well.
Yeah, I like Drake, but look, we like him. I'm going to be betting Drake. Definitely. I'm probably taking Drake money line. I'm not going to attack the spread because I anticipate the spread's going to move. I think by the time the game starts, it's probably going to get pushed to a Drake minus 2.5. That seems like a lot of a movement, but I could see it happening. But
again, if you like Drake, take it now.
Take it now because it is March, and not to discredit this Washington State team, they did make a run to the Pac-12 championship and lost it to Colorado. But, you know, it was a team that just made a run in their Pac-12 championship. Now, granted, Pac-12 was a little weaker this year. They didn't make the conference. They didn't make the championship. I think they made the semifinals.
Yeah, because it was Colorado and Oregon.
Yeah. But they could have been in the final. They made that run there. They could do it again, but I think this is going to be a very good game. I could see it coming down maybe to the wire, like a buzzer beater or something like that. But I like Drake to pull it out.
Yep.
All right, moving on here to our last game of the East region. We've got Iowa State and South Dakota State. I'm trying to look for 321 at 7. Where is this?
I don't even think we need to really talk too much about this.
I'll go ahead and pick it.
Yeah, Iowa State. Definitely. The tournament ceiling, ESPN is saying a Final Four team. And I heard that yesterday.
Big 12 champion who not only just beat Houston in the Big 12 championship, dismantled Houston in the Big 12 championship. And it goes to show it's not a fluke because they beat them in the regular season too. I really like Houston. I think beating Houston is a great showing of where your team is. I might even be putting a future bet on Houston to win the whole thing. So therefore, it goes to show you how much I like this Iowa State team and those wins in the year. Iowa State's favored by 16. And while it is a big spread in March Madness here, over-under set at 133, I'm probably still taking the Iowa State minus 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead and pencil them in there to win their first round. And that puts us over to who I was just talking about, the Houston Cougars in the South region, number 1 seed. They've got Longwood. I'm not doing a deep dive into stats here. We're going to save some time. This is Houston.
Yeah, I'm looking at how much time we've already spent. and folks, this is going to be one of our longest podcasts. So hopefully you enjoy it all the way through to the end.
Hopefully.
hopefully you listen to all the way to the end and see if you can beat us. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we have to go further. We both of us absolutely love Houston to make a deep run in this tournament. So Houston it is.
Yeah, I think Houston could, if they go down and win the championship, I think you could look back and say this Houston team may be the best college basketball team we've seen in the last 5 years that went to win on a title. They're just that good on both ends of the ball. All right, so moving on to their 8 and 9 matchup, we've got Nebraska versus Texas A&M. Let me try to find wherever this line is. Oh, here we go. Nebraska favored by 1 point, over under set at 145.5. This is a weird one. Do you take the reins here? You gotta lean.
I'm leaning towards Texas Tech.
A&M.
You know, or I'm sorry, yeah, Texas A&M. I'm just pulling up right here. So Nebraska, they have going to the round of 32, while Texas A&M again at round of 32. So, I mean, 1 point you said?
Yeah, 1 point.
I mean, this is a pick 'em. I'm going. I think the Aggies are going to take this one.
I do too. The one thing that worries me about it, Nebraska has been quality on both sides of the ball, and they do give a lot of minutes to that bench too. So, you know, they're trying not to get anybody into foul trouble. They're keeping everybody fresh throughout the game. However, they have trouble with fast-paced opponents. Now, Texas A&M don't really play super fast. Just looking at this year, I mean, they're 238th in the nation, 69.5 points, or 69.5 pace possessions per 100. I got to get that down right. But this team can play fast. They did go on and lose to Florida in the SEC semifinal, but they did put up 90 points in that game. They were able to. Florida is notoriously fast, and they were able to keep up with them. They also did the same with the fastest team in the nation in Kentucky the day before, beat them 97-87. So when they need to get it going, they can. I think this is going to be one of those games that I feel like a lot of the money is going to come in on the under because of the pace of Texas A&M. But I think this could be a sneaky overcover at the end. I think it might be a slow first half game.
I was going to say this is going to be an ugly, slow game.
Yeah, for the first half. Then I think you come into halftime, Texas A&M goes, hey, we can beat these guys if we start running with them. And the second half is going to be a little more fun. But I got Texas A&M and Buzz Williams advancing to the second round here.
There we go. Nice name.
All right, next game, 5-12, Wisconsin versus James Madison. This may be, and I'm not kidding, the best game of the first round. This is the what is it? This is the PFT Big Cat game. This one's going to be fun, and I bet on them all throughout last week. They won me a lot of money last week, and I'm going right back to the bank. I'm going with the Dukes. I love JMU. I think they're going to be an absolute fucking wagon. Now, Wisconsin scares me because I don't know if you watched that Big Ten tournament final yesterday. They kept up with Illinois, and they can get hot from three, and they can shoot well. But JMU not only is a great offensive team. Now, yes, keep in mind, a shittier strength of schedule. They're playing lesser opponents, but they can defend the three well. They can defend everything well, and they're very efficient offensively. I don't even the stats might not help our pick on this one. This is purely a gut play, but I like JMU. I'm trying to find the line here while you give your take.
Yeah, I too picked in my little bracket JMU going 14-0 to start, 31-3. Yes, different competition, but one thing I'm just reading here, JMU has a Tom Izzo's nephew is on staff. And we know what Tom Izzo has done in the past come tournament time as a coach.
So you're thinking that blood just stays on it, and
Well, even though it's
staffer on the JMU staff brings
and
it.
his nephew, the blood works right there. So, I just love this story with JMU in terms of overall sports with this program, football team,
Snubbed,
yep,
absolutely snubbed.
and now their basketball program. So I'd watch out, Wisconsin fans. Sorry, Big Cat, but I think the Dukes are going to win this one.
I think the Dukes take this one. Before we move on, I'll tell you here, the line is set at Wisconsin -4.5, over under at 145.5. Take those 4.5 points, take them to the bank. Actually, you might be able to just leave those 4.5 points at the door and take the JMU plus 145 money line.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Shit, man. Here it is. Duke Vermont. 4-13 matchup
yesterday.
Yep, we talked about this. They play at 7:15-ish on Friday, one of the latest games of the first round. Duke is favored by 12 points. Over-under is set at 131.5. I'm telling you all right now, Vermont plus 12 is the play.
Yes.
Duke may win this game, but 12 points for a Duke team that does not look good at all right now. That is the play. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if Duke loses this game. But I was talking with Josh yesterday about it, and
hashtag Rotor Radar.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, Duke wins this game probably by 10. Vermont stays within the spread, but it looks like a good 10. They are consistently up 8-10 throughout the whole game and win it.
And
then they might come
closer,
out.
And it gets closer the last 3 minutes just because that's how it's the game. But they still handle. I was going to say an 8-point win. So yeah, 8-10. They handle it throughout. They're probably up by 4, 5, or 6 at halftime. Increase it probably to 12, and it just drops to 8-10 points at the final. But yes, Duke will. I agree. Duke will win. Yes, we were very scared about this when we just talked briefly on the phone last night, but it's Duke.
Yeah. And I think the pace of both of these teams, if I can look at it here, actually, Duke plays a very slow defensive pace. They are, what is this? Sorry. Vermont, actually, too, I believe. Vermont, 339th in the nation, 66.8 possessions per 100. And then you've got Duke, 255th in the nation, 69.2 possessions per 100. I think you can look to the under here, and I think that the pace just goes to beef up our Vermont plus 12 even more, because it's just going to be a defensive, slow game where Duke just might not even get the opportunity to get it above 12. But we're going to take them to advance here. Next one, 6-11 matchup. The team that beat Duke in the quarterfinal for Duke's first. You ready for this?
Yeah.
That Duke losing to State in the quarterfinal was the first time in 30 years that they have not won at least one game in the ACC tournament. Just crazy little stat there. Made me even more pissed about the loss. But losing to the eventual ACC champion, NC State, who took down Carolina 2 in the championship game Saturday night. They are playing Texas Tech. And I'm looking at it here. They've got Texas Tech favored by 5.5 on DK, over under 146 points. This State team, man, they made the run, the 5 wins in 5 days to get into this tournament. They are a bid stealing team. So they knocked out, the Indiana States or the Seton Halls that were going to get in until State went out here and stole a bid with the automatic. I like them. I don't know if I like this matchup for them, though, against the Texas Tech team that
is deep. in
Deep,
terms of players. Yeah.
strong offensively. They do struggle defensively on the glass and slowing down the 3-point shot. But, however, if you watch State throughout their run last week, they weren't necessarily killing you from deep. It was their guy DJ Burns who was down there in the paint. Now, so it does mention they struggle defensively on the glass. There could be a lot of second chance opportunities for State and a lot of defensive help, I guess, there in that regard. But I think that this Texas Tech team who, last week went out there, beat BYU, this team that we were talking about earlier, by keeping them off of the 3-point line. So while they do say they struggle at the 3, they did a good job at neutralizing it there. Go on to lose to Houston 82-59, but we've already talked about how good Houston is. I'm going to take Texas Tech here. And
I agree. Texas Tech. I mean, sure, we have seen in the past those incredible roles. Again, we mentioned 5 games, 5 nights. I think UConn did that a couple years ago and translated that into a great tournament run as well when they were with the Big East. But I think emotional, it's too much for this State team. I mean, they weren't looking juggernauts throughout the year at all. They just found it at the right time just to win this ACC. And that's enough for them. Yeah, that's enough to be able to beat Duke and UNC and say we won the ACC tournament
season. Yeah,
yeah, that's it.
Exactly. Nothing to be ashamed about by State here by getting in and losing first round. It might be close. I don't know what to do with this line at 5.5, and this is going to be one of the ones that I think I'm going to wait to see where the line movement goes to determine if I bet it, where I bet it. But we'll take Texas Tech to advance here in the first round. Next game, Kentucky versus Oakland. Number 3 versus the 14 seed. We don't need to dive too deep into this one either.
No, we don't.
Kentucky is going to run Oakland up and down the court. I am surprised this line is only 13.5 points. Over under sit at 163. Kentucky might drop fucking 100 in this game.
Yeah.
Oakland, I'm sorry. I'm sure you had a great year and had some fun, but this is going to be a painful loss.
Absolutely. I would take, if you like Kentucky, like we do.
Take them now. Take them now. I think you take Kentucky playable up to 15.5. Next game, 7-10, Florida versus the winner of Boise State and Colorado. I guess this is the downside of us doing these so early, but to help us, I will bring up the lines of the first 4 game. We've got Colorado favored by 2.5 over Boise State. Remember, this team did just make it to the Pac-12 championship and losing it to Oregon. I think I would pick Colorado to win that Boise State game. I don't trust Mountain West here. I think that's already evident by one of our picks. I'm not sure if we've already picked against a Mountain West team. We have San Diego State. I don't like the Mountain West once it comes to March. Mountain West basketball is absolutely fucking terrible to watch. I watched too much of it last week and lost so much. So they're not fun, and I don't think it's going to translate. And Colorado wins that game, but this is going to be interesting because I like Florida. I like the pace that Florida plays. They can run up and down the floor. They are not a good defensive team. Their whole mantra is we might not stop you, but we will outscore you. Mm-hmm. The one thing is, though, I don't know if you caught this, nasty injury in the SEC championship game yesterday. 2 minutes and 15 seconds in, they're like 7-foot center, freshman center, I think. I can't remember his name right now, and I don't recommend going to watch the injury if you haven't already because you can literally hear the bone snap on the TV broadcast. Went up for a rebound, landed on it. Within seconds, his legs like some Kevin Ware shit. Apparently, the bone was sticking out of the back of his leg, and there was blood already coming down his calf. You saw this team wasn't able to rally around that to beat Auburn in the SEC championship. Now, this guy does only average, I think it's like 5 points a game and maybe 2 rebounds, but as a big guy interior presence, with a team that's already not good defensively, you've got to think that's got to mean something. What do you think here while I look up some defensive numbers on Colorado to see if they can pull this off?
I mean, I think it's going to be just a attrition type of thing, even because you're playing one of the first 4 games in. So even if Colorado does win like we predict, you got to come back a night later and most likely travel, right? Or are they playing these first 4 in?
No, I'm pretty sure they always play the first 4 in Dayton, and then they'll have to travel to play.
So right there, you got to travel. Yeah, so you got to travel too. So I like Florida.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I think I like Colorado. Like I said, Florida's not a good defensive team. Colorado, you ready for this? This is a surprising number. 14th in the nation in offensive efficiency, 1.138. Florida's not going to be able to stop them. Defensively, they're above middle at the pack, 78th in the nation at 1.044 defensive efficiency there. I like Colorado. I like them too because last week in these conference tournaments, I was betting against some of these teams that started earlier and played a couple games, and then they played the 1 seed. Because in a lot of these smaller conferences, it did happen where the 1 seed had 2 days layoff and the 8 seeds playing 2 games, and they're getting warm, and they're seeing the shots fall for 2 days, and then they had it carry over. I think Colorado wins then their first 4 game, and I think they carry the momentum. And I think this could be a close one, but I think offensively, Florida's not going to be able to stop them. I think if Florida gets down early, I think they get into their head a little bit.
And then try and rush a shot.
Yeah, rush some shots, try to pick up that pace, and then you give it over to Colorado, which isn't a bad defensive team, which can force, where is it? I just had it. Who forces only 10 turnovers per game. Not great. 285th in the nation. But I think that Colorado is just going to be a little more efficient, take some better shots, and could win this game.
All right. For the pod, we'll go. We'll go Colorado.
All right, we'll go Colorado here. Watch what's going to happen though. Is we're saying all this about Colorado, and Boise State's going to end up winning Wednesday night. That's going to fuck our whole thing. If that happens. Or are you on board? Can we say this now? If that happens, I can go in here and change this, and we're picking Florida. If it's Boise State that ends up winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is All that right. able? Can you change it?
You can. You can change it up to Thursday when the round of 64 starts.
Okay.
So we'll lay that out here for the pod. If you're following our picks here, we're taking Colorado to beat Florida. We are not taking Boise State. If Boise State wins the first 4 game, we are taking Florida in this first round. All right, last one of the South region. We got to pick it up here a little bit. We got Marquette, number 2 Marquette versus number 15 Western Kentucky. When I mentioned at the start of the podcast how I fell in love with 2 underdog lines. Mm-hmm. Western Kentucky is the second one. I think this line right now, if I can find it, here it is. Western Kentucky plus 13.5. It opened at plus 14.5. So it's definitely starting to go in Western Kentucky's favor. Western Kentucky ended up winning their, I can't even remember what fucking conference it is. It might be like Conference USA or something. But this team is fast. This team is fast like Florida. This team shoots the 3 as well and as often as BYU. And they've got some depth too. I like Western Kentucky to cover. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the 15-2 upset that we see, because Marquette is also potentially without, well, I'm sure you're probably looking at it. It might be in that article you're reading. They might potentially be without one of their players too. A pretty decent one. Let me see if it actually has it here on the ESPN preview. Tyler Kolek missed the Big East tournament due to an oblique injury. Expected to return for the NCAA tournament, but who knows? Even if he is back, he hasn't played in a while. Might take a little bit to warm up. But Western Kentucky, like it's saying, it's Conference USA. It was right. Fastest tempos in the nation, puts up a ton of points. Highly susceptible to steals and turnovers. But with one of the highest offensive steal rates in the nation. They're going to try to make this a track meet with Marquette. I like them to cover. Marquette falls into foul troubles at times, which makes them vulnerable to an upset if starters must sit. All of this is telling me I think I like Western Kentucky plus 13.5.
I would take Western Kentucky, but I think Marquette, Big East, Shaka Smart coach. Come on now.
Yeah, we're taking Marquette to advance, but I love that Western Kentucky plus 13.5. All right. Moving on to the West here. We're not talking about this one. Carolina's advancing over Howard or Wagner. As much as I would love to see that upset. Moving on next, we got Mississippi State 8-9 seed versus Michigan State here. I think this is the first game. Yep, first game on Thursday, 12:20, the first game of the tournament. Michigan State is favored by 1. Total is at 130. No, just 130. This game is weird to me. Please tell me you have a lean, because I'm not sure.
Yes, I mean, we already mentioned Tom Izzo, what he does come in the tournament, but Mississippi State, I'm leaning towards them. I just think that their run, and again, what people were saying, one of the toughest conferences probably in basketball being the SEC. ESPN says tournament ceiling around a 32, which is fine with me because I have them winning this and then losing their next game. So I think we go Mississippi State.
I like it. I like Mississippi State here too, and I think I was looking at this last night, and I might take, if that gets up to 1.5, I might take Mississippi State plus 1.5 to grab a point in case they do lose. But Mississippi State is very strong on defense when guarding the 3 ball. We saw that in their upset of Tennessee in the SEC tournament. Michigan State, in their tournament run, specifically in the game against Minnesota that I saw and against Purdue, which they ended up losing, shot the 3 pretty well. But we brought this up with BYU. This is an early game. The threes are going to take a little bit to fall against a team that defends the 3 really well too. Now, Mississippi State is nothing great on offense, but I think this is going to be a gritty game. I think it's going to come down to the end where Michigan State is not a good free throw shooting team. So I think I like Mississippi State here too. Moving on, we've got the 5-12 matchup, St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon. How you feeling about this one while I find this line?
If this was baseball, I'd, have Grand Canyon. But
so you don't like them?
No, I like St. Mary's. They're 6-1 when Aiden Mahoney scores 20 or more points in a game.
Okay.
Elite tournament ceiling is Elite 8.
Yeah, they did beat Gonzaga in the Western to WAC. I think they're in whatever it is. Did beat them in the tournament final. They are elite at guarding the paint. They don't allow their opponents to take many threes. I think Grand Canyon, top 65 nationally in both offensive and defensive efficiency, but they don't rely on their bench much, sticking to a 7-man rotation. You're going against a team in St. Mary's that might look to get you in foul trouble early. The line is 5 points, over under 131. I like the story of Grand Canyon and everything, but this game also, it might not be too big of a factor, but it is the last game on Friday. Going to tip off somewhere around 10:10. It's in Spokane, Washington, where St. Mary's has played at least 2 times this year, I believe, against Gonzaga, and know how to win there. I like St. Mary's, and I feel like we might be going against the crowd here. I feel like a lot of people are going to be picking Grand Canyon because of the story and everything, but I just don't know if their magic continue.
I think the crowd would be against St. Mary's, obviously, being in Spokane, but you just mentioned they've already been able to win up there before. I watched, it's unusual. I do like watching this conference. I like watching Gonzaga. I like watching Santa Clara. I like watching St. Mary's. Just how they get around defensively. Yeah, St. Mary's.
Yeah. All right. So we'll pick St. Mary's to win that one. Next one, we move on to Alabama, the 4 seed versus Charleston, the 13 seed. Alabama favored by 9.5. Over under is set at 130 or 173. This game is going to be a track meet. I don't know how to feel about this because the Alabama is coming into this 2-4 over the last 6. Don't have a lot of positive momentum that they're bringing into here, but they do possess one of, if not the nation's best offense, averaging 90.8 points per game. Charleston's averaging 80.5. The thing about Alabama, though, while they are 10th BPI ranking, they couldn't defend a 5th grade basketball team. They're giving up 81.1 points per game on the defensive end. Charleston runs an extremely deep 10-man rotation. Starters are only playing 60% of their minutes, but they take exceptional care of the ball and aren't afraid to make some threes and hit them, which I don't think Alabama is going to be able to defend really well. Nearly half of Charleston's attempts are behind the arc. All 5 players in their 3 forward starting lineup are comfortable stretching the floor. They were close in beating San Diego State last year. And they could pull up this upset because it will be a track meet, and I don't think there's going to be defense within 50 miles of this game. What do you like?
I like Alabama. Again, I guess we're going just conference-wise, stronger opponents throughout the year. ESPN has them tournament ceiling as Elite 8. I don't think that, but I think it's going to be a very close 2-point win. Alabama's going to be scared. They're going to lose. They're going to be behind probably by 6 to 8 points at some point during this game, and then find a way to finish it off. If you like this game, I would take Charleston's and the points.
9.5.
Yeah, I would definitely take Charleston, but Alabama will win.
Yeah, I can roll with that. I think it's just kind of like I said with Florida. This team is not going to beat you defensively, but Alabama is going into this game with one plan and one plan only, and that is outscoring Charleston, which I think they'll be able to do to win this game. That was actually fucking stupid. Everybody goes into a game thinking, hey, let me outscore the other team. That's how you win a game. But you know what I'm saying.
That was a great take. That was a great take.
Yeah, fucking absolute gem of a college basketball analysis. Yeah. All right, moving on. We got Clemson, number 6 seed versus New Mexico. New Mexico, this one's interesting. I've seen this. Favored by 2.5 now. It opened at 1.5 favorites for them yesterday, and I think the line is telling. I don't like Clemson. Yes, they did start the year 11-1. They lost 3 out of 4 to finish 10-10 over the last 20 games. If they can drain them from 3 or their guy Joseph Girard, maybe they can stay in this. But I just feel like even with 4 days or no, not even like 7 days layoff, I feel like this Clemson team is just going to come into this game cold. And as much as I was just talking shit about Mountain West basketball, I hate Clemson. I hate this matchup for him, and I'm taking New Mexico.
You know what? At first, I think I was just going again based on conference. I wrote down Clemson, but the more that I read here, did you know that this is New Mexico's first appearance in a decade, and who has done it for them? The combination of Rick Pitino and Jamal Mashburn, kids. All right, so they were together in Kentucky, had a great run back then, and you have Richard Pitino and Jamal Mashburn Jr. leading this way. Jamal Mashburn Jr., 14.4 points per game. Yes. Let's go New Mexico. Let's go Lobos.
Let's go the Lobos. And something just to help our pick here even more, and more so maybe to that 2.5 spread. Clemson, 236th in the nation in pace per game. New Mexico, you want to guess?
I'm going to guess 32.
27th. That is enough for me to take New Mexico and feel very good about it against the Clemson team that I haven't been able to believe in 3 months. Next game, Baylor, Colgate, 3-14 matchup. This one is the second game of Friday's slate. Baylor's favored by 13.5 points. Over under is set at 138.5. What do you like here?
I've liked Baylor all season long. 13. You're playing a Big Ten versus an Ivy League.
Big 12.
I think Baylor, huh? Or I'm sorry, Big 12.
Colgate,
that's right. I get those.
Colgate Ivy. I didn't think Colgate's Ivy.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Let me check.
Yeah.
Really? A hidden Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not. What conference are they in? Because I don't think they're in there. What? Oh my God! I almost typed what Colgate is conference in. What conference is Colgate in? Patriot League. Yeah.
Oh,
so they're not in the Ivy. They're a hidden Ivy. But, anyways,
I always thought they were Ivy. Sorry. No, I think Baylor is just going to absolutely run them out. You said 13 was the spread right now?
13.5. Yep.
Yeah, I would take Baylor right now. Tournament ceiling for Colgate, first round.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like Baylor here too. Now, granted, I wish they would be a little more sound defensively, but we've got another huge discrepancy in pace of play here. Colgate at 325th in the nation, Baylor at 221st. So not the greatest one, but I think when it just comes down, this game's just coming down to offensive firepower and being able to hit those shots when you need to. While Colgate has been close to pulling off upsets in previous years, I think this is going to be a one-stop and done for them this year.
Yeah.
All right, next game, we got Dayton versus Nevada, the 7-10 matchup. This game is where is this? I don't even see it yet. Oh, 321. I'm an idiot. 430. Nevada favored by 1 point, over under 137. You like anything here?
I like Dayton. I've liked them. Yeah.
I like Dayton too
throughout the year. I mean, we're just talking about Mountain West basketball.
Yeah,
right.
We were, and we did just pick New Mexico to win, but that was more so against Clemson.
Yeah.
Both of these teams are very good at shooting the three, but Dayton is one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the nation, I'm pretty sure. Well, they haven't really, neither of these guys have really faced like crazy schedules or anything like that. Nevada did beat TCU earlier in the year, 88-75. But I think Dayton, I think their shots are just going to be falling. If this was earlier, I might go Nevada, but this is a 4:30 game. I think you give it enough time, your threes are going to be falling. Everybody's warmed up. They had a nice sleep the day before. I think Dayton goes out here and what some people may consider a close game. With Nevada favored by 1 here, I think I'm taking Dayton, and I think I might wait until Dayton hits plus money on the money line and take them too.
Yeah, I mean, tournament ceiling has Nevada going to Sweet 16. You have Steve Alford, Indiana basketball star in his day. Second, after he was fired from UCLA, now he's found his home here in Nevada. But yeah, I think Dayton, I think it's going to be a close, ugly game. It will take the under, but Dayton will win.
All right. I like it. Next one, Arizona, Long Beach State. We don't have to spend too much time here either. Arizona is a 19.5 point favorite right now. We're taking them, right? I mean, they don't. Yeah. I don't think you have to play.
And yes, 19.5 might be scary, but I think Arizona always does this. Your first round game, it's 25, 30 point win. And then things get tighter with them as the conference goes on. I would take the points during this one.
Yeah, I might take the points too. I might tease this down just to be sure, but I think this game is going to be a Caleb Love masterclass, and I don't know. I might be looking way too much ahead here, but I mean, you look at this stuff. Arizona ranks top 15 nationally, both offensive and defensive efficiency. Long Beach State is in for an ass whooping, and I think, like I said, I don't want to be getting ahead of myself, but I think Caleb Love has his eyes on an Elite Eight matchup with Carolina, giving him the chance to knock out his old team. And I think that is going to carry them in their offense through some of these early rounds. Moving on here to our last region, we got Purdue versus Grambling State or Montana State. I'll tell you right now, I like Montana State to win the play-in game. They're like 3.5 point favorites. We saw it last year with Purdue losing to FDU, but I think Purdue, now I don't know if they're going to win it all, but we remember a couple years ago when Virginia was the first team ever to lose to the number 16 seed. What did they do the next year? They went through and they took names and kicked ass. They got into the tournament and they won it all. I'm not saying Purdue is going to redeem themselves like that, but they are not losing this game again to a 16 seed.
Yeah, Purdue.
8-9 matchup, Utah State versus TCU. This one is the second latest game on Friday, so the second last one. We got TCU favored by 3 points. Over-under is at 149. And what do you know? I'm staring at another fucking Mountain West team. Look, Utah State won me some money last week. Barely. And they were a bit scary against I think it was Fresno State, a team that they should not have been close with, but Fresno State was making a little bit of a run. Utah State, they play at a really slow pace, and they don't take a lot of threes. They want to try to beat you in the paint, but TCU crashes the boards really well, rebounds really well, and they're great at their fast break and their second chance points. And their defense is pretty good too. They're going to get a lot of turnovers on this Utah State team that I don't know if the statistics really back it up, but in their recent play, we're not handling the ball too well, and that is not a trend that you want to bring into March Madness. TCU is one of the most experienced teams in this tournament, and I think that experience is going to show in this game. I'm taking TCU.
I'm taking TCU only because Jameer Nelson, 20 years ago, he ended up leading St. Joseph into a tournament and an Elite Eight appearance, and his son will try and do the same. He's at 11.3 points per game. Gotta love the family, the father's son, family ties, have it in the blood. I'm picking TCU here, but that's it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go much farther, but we'll get into that in the second round here. Another great game here, 5-12 matchup, Gonzaga versus McNeese State. Gonzaga favored by 6, over under set at 148.5. I think we know where you're going because you just mentioned it earlier, how you like
Yep.
watching Gonzaga and you love
Yep.
them. And I think a lot of people are going to be on McNeese. Mostly
and three.
because, yeah, because of that, they're very deep and they limit mistakes offensively. This is a smart team. It's a team that did not lose much. Granted, they didn't play the greatest schedule. I think they're going to be a very trendy 5-12 upset, and I think people are going to try to overlook Gonzaga because they think they are, this is the worst Gonzaga team we've seen in a couple of years. They're the 5 seed. Oh, no. But outside of that loss to St. Mary's in the championship final, Gonzaga looked very good throughout their conference tournament. This is where Mark View gets his team going in March. And, I think they're going to hear all the noise that everybody's trying to take McNeese State. They think this is the year that Gonzaga doesn't do it. I think we go chalk here. I think we take Zags.
Oh, absolutely. Even though, McNeese State won just 11 games last year, and they turned around with a former LSU coach there, Will Wade, changes things. But again, the Southland is your conference. You're just not going to have enough firepower against Gonzaga.
Yep. Next game, 4-13 matchup. Kansas favored by 7.5 over Samford. Total is set at 150.5 over here on DraftKings. This Kansas team. Now, where I was just talking about, some people are going to overlook Gonzaga. They're thinking this isn't the good Gonzaga team that we've seen in the past, and they're going to worry about the 5 seed. I think people are going to look at Kansas and be like, oh, well, they still got the 4, so they're going to be okay. Kansas worries me a little bit. And this game could be very weird because, now granted, Bill Self has came out and said that Kevin McCullough Jr. and Hunter Dickinson will be ready again for the NCAA tournament, but that hasn't been confirmed. Every coach is going to say our best players are going to be available for the NCAA tournament. I think they do play, and I don't know. I mean, I think they play, but I think they could be a little slow to get going. Samford plays a very up-tempo system, average 86 points per game, 10 three-pointers per game, and 40% from behind the arc, all among the nation's leaders. They force turnovers at a really high rate. They aren't really a strong rebounding team, but if Hunter Dickinson isn't playing at 100%, do you really need to worry about that too much for Kansas?
I think this is one of those that the stage is going to be too big, too bright for Samford. I have Kansas, and then this is it for them. But
yeah, I don't like it. I really don't. I kind of want to go Samford, but I just don't think I can you see some of these notable results. And I mean, if you try to place this against any team that made the tournament, they played Purdue back in November and lost by 43 points. They almost got doubled up. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Samford does this. It's a late game on Thursday. I think it really just depends on the health, but we're going to make this pick saying that Hunter Dickinson and McCullers are going to play, and they're not going to be, they're not going to be too rusty. But yeah, they'll go in here and probably lose to Gonzaga next round. All right, South Carolina, Oregon, 6-10 matchup. Where are you looking here?
I've liked South Carolina all year. Yes, Oregon,
Perfect.
Fantastic little run here, but that's one of those teams that I'm scared about day in, day out. Are they, they can easily win, but they could easily lose. So I think here would just put them out of their misery. They're going to lose.
Yeah. Now, granted, South Carolina isn't the most effective team on the offensive end, but they are a balanced team. They take care of the basketball well. They won 26 games in this tough SEC conference this year. Beaten Florida, beaten Tennessee once, beaten Kentucky once by 17, beaten Mississippi State. These are all teams that are here. But then they do have some bad losses. They gave up 101 points to Auburn. You know, they lost to Auburn twice by 30 plus in each. Lost to Alabama by almost 30 points. So, I think we could be worried about them if Oregon was a high-flying offensive team, but I have also liked South Carolina all year, and I think that they win this game. Funny thing, South Carolina is actually the underdog. You can get them plus a point right now. Over-under's 132.5, but Oregon's favored by a point. I want to see that line open up a little bit more for South Carolina, but I will be taking that.
Take it now. Yes.
No, maybe now. I mean, I think more money might come in on Oregon just because people are going to be Pac-12 winner, blah, 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 sort of shit. I don't know.
I mean, if you like South Carolina, take it.
Yeah. If you like, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Creighton, Akron. I don't want to give too much time to this one too. I really like Creighton.
Love Creighton.
I love Creighton. I don't care what the fucking line is. I don't care who they're playing here in this first round. You take them. They're the third game on Thursday. Line's 12.5. That's not enough. I like Creighton. minus 12.5. They're winning that game.
I mean, ESPN tournament ceiling has them as a national champion.
Yeah, they're a good team.
I mean, they gave UConn their worst loss this year, 85-66. So
the worst, not only just worst loss this year, worst loss in Dan Hurley's career as the coach.
That's true. Yep.
All right, next game, Texas versus the 10 seed. We got to look at a first four game here between Colorado State and Virginia to see who would win this. Some people were saying Virginia shouldn't have even made the tournament. Watching Virginia play basketball is like watching paint dry. It is boring and terrible, and I hate it. And I'm taking Colorado State to beat them in the first four game. But I don't know about against Texas. I like Texas. I liked Texas in the Big 12. I thought Texas could have been a dark horse to win the Big 12.
I like Texas as well. But I mean, when you look at the next game going forward this winter, I think this is a one and done.
Yeah. I like Texas here. It's worrying me. We're going a little too chalk in this region, but it could happen.
One region always does.
One region does. You're right. Next game, like you mentioned, in Tennessee, St. Peter's. Well, it would be cool to see the Peacocks fly again and try to make another run. This is not the same St. Peter's team that we saw a couple of years ago. They are without that coach that brought them on that run. They're without a lot of their good players, Mr. Doug Eater, too. This line is set at 19.5. I wish I knew. Here, let me look real quick. I want to see how St. Peter's defends the three. If I can find them, are they even? Here we go. St. Peter's against the three. 48th in the nation. Not bad. Holding them at a 31.5% clip. 34th in their defensive efficiency, but offensively, 327th in the nation. I just don't think they're going to be able to run with Tennessee.
They won't be able to have enough points. Yeah.
Yep.
Tennessee.
They could shoot their best game, and they're still not going to be able to do it. All right. Well, that gets us to the end of the first round. After an hour and 45. At least we've gone through the stats here. We can run through some of these games.
I think this will run very close. Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah. All right. So we'll move back up to the East. UConn,
Why don't we
FAU.
do this? Why don't we take each now and run it through to the
Final Four? Or
to the Final Four.
Get that.
Yep.
All right. UConn, FAU. UConn. UAB,
Auburn.
Yeah, I love you, UAB, but not this much.
Bruce Pearl. Love him.
Yeah. Duquesne, Illinois. Once again, we love you, Duquesne, but I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is having a game here again. Yeah. Drake and Iowa State. Man, could this be a weird one?
No. I think Iowa State is just poised to potentially be in that Final Four. At least having a tough game against UConn. I like Iowa State.
Yeah, I like Iowa State here. I think that they're going to be just too aggressive defensively. Might get Drake into some foul trouble, and those smaller teams, man. When you fuck up their 5, 6, 7-man rotation, it's going to be a long day for them.
Yep.
We'll go back up to Houston's region here. Houston, Texas A&M. This is Houston. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Houston. I thought we were finishing off the whole East.
Oh, yeah. Whoops. UConn, Auburn.
UConn.
Why?
They play in the Big East. They're the only one that won their tournament. I think they're wanting to be that back-to-back.
They are, but this could be a severe trap game for them. Auburn is very good defensively.
I think Auburn, yeah, very good. And again, love Bruce Pearl to death. Love the man. Love what he does. But I just think it's going to be a tight game. But in the end, UConn will outlast Auburn.
All right. I'll jump on your side here, but let the record show I don't like it. I'm picking Auburn in that game. Illinois, Iowa State. I think Iowa State is just going to be too much defensively for Illinois. Illinois needs to win on the offensive end, and I think Iowa State's just going to knock them down too much.
Absolutely.
And then we move on to UConn, Iowa State. You just alluded to this earlier. You think this is going to be a close game. Iowa State loses. If we weren't taking Auburn last round, I know UConn is the defending champ. I know they won their tournament. I like Iowa State here, man. I really do.
I do too. Okay. I was hearing that, how shitty they did UConn and putting them against all these teams. You're the top seed and you have the toughest bracket to come out. And obviously we always see one of them's not going to make it. And as much as I love UConn and I want to see the back-to-back, and again, a New England team, right? We're New England fans all through. This is what this pod is, but this is going to be UConn's final game in the season. Iowa State.
Yeah, you're talking about them getting a shit draw. I don't know if this is necessarily the hardest region. However, as the number 1 overall seed, you're supposed to have the 8th overall 2 then in there. The worst 2. Iowa State is in there, slotted at 8. The committee fucked up with that one. Iowa State might be the best 2. Iowa State is a better 2 than Marquette. Iowa State is a better 2 than Tennessee. Iowa State is a better 2 than Arizona. UConn get absolutely railed with that draw. That sucks for them.
Yep.
All right, so we had Houston over Texas A&M.
Yes.
James Madison, Duke.
As much as we love the bandwagon of putting the Dukes, and could the Dukes beat the Duke? I don't think so.
Are we sure? This pains me to say.
I know it pains you to say.
Dude, if Duke goes cold from 3 and starts forcing them up, and keep in mind here, JMU held their opponents to a 29% shooting rate from behind the arc.
Which I think, but I think that they're just going to go against this game. We're not going to shoot or Duke will not shoot the 3. I think they're going to go just in the paint and try that. I think Duke will win this game, but obviously that'll be the end for them.
So you're saying go into the paint, man. I've been watching this team. We don't. We are a soft team down there, not going to get offensive. I'm fully on board here to put JMU over Duke. They're not. Duke is a soft team on the interior. Filipowski is soft, and if he gets into foul trouble, you have nobody down there that's going to go up, get a board, go up, take the tough shots, get hit on the way up, get fouled. And if JMU is locking down their 3-point line, Duke could look really lost offensively in this game.
All right, let's do it for the pod.
Let's do it.
JMU.
Texas Tech, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Okay. Yep. And then in this one, we said Colorado over Florida. Keep in mind, if Boise ends up winning, we're switching it to Florida. But Colorado versus Marquette here.
I chose Marquette. No matter who it's going to be, Florida or Colorado, I think it will be Marquette. I like them. Big East basketball. Love Big East basketball.
And are you putting a little too much love into the Big East basketball? Remember, if Colorado wins, like we put, this is a very efficient offensive team too,
and hot team. But you lost your conference championship, and you were a 3 seed going into it, and you lost it to a 4 against an Oregon team that we already threw out already. So.
All right, I'll take Marquette, but I don't feel good about it. I could see Colorado pulling an upset there. All right, so then Houston, James Madison. I'm sorry, Dukes, but this is where your run ends. Yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Kentucky, Marquette. I like Kentucky. Yep. And then Houston, Kentucky. This would be a game. This is the battle of the greatest defensive team in the nation that loves holding their opponents to less than, I think they held their opponents to less than 50 points 11 times this year. And then you got a Kentucky team that is aiming to try to shoot 100. This is a completely style versus style game here.
And I think you always get those games in which you go, ooh, this could be a finals game if they weren't next to each, or, in that bracket. Yeah, on the same side. But I think we've already said we like Houston. We like their firepower.
Yeah,
we like them.
I think when you get into that game, these Elite Eights, people say it all the time, defense wins championships, and defense is going to win them the South Regional Championship against Kentucky there. Moving down to the West, Carolina, Mississippi State. It's still Carolina. While Mississippi State does maybe defend the 3 pretty well, I don't think that's how North Carolina is going to beat them. I think Baycott has a game there. I think they win that pretty handily. St. Mary's, Alabama. I'm taking St. Mary's here.
Me too. I love St. Mary's. Yep.
I've been looking for a reason to get Alabama out of this tournament. New Mexico, Baylor. We both love Baylor.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Dayton, Arizona.
Zona.
Really?
Yeah. I think this will be Arizona's scary game. Obviously going to be, favored 6.5. They'll be down by a couple into the game, and then they'll just turn it on in the end.
Yeah. I have nothing to back up what I'm feeling about Dayton outside of the fact that they shoot threes a 40.2% clip, man.
Yeah.
Arizona, while they do defend it decent, holding them to a 33.4% clip. Offensively, they're very efficient, and Dayton's very good defensively too. I kind of want to go Dayton here, man. This could be a weird one. There's always weird ones.
Again, I was just saying earlier, was Dayton in the Big East?
Dayton's in the Atlantic 10.
Atlantic 10.
All right, we'll go Arizona, but
yeah,
let the record show I like Dayton there again too. Purdue, TCU.
Oh no, we got to finish the West.
Oh God, I keep forgetting this. Carolina, St. Mary's. You want to say it?
I would love to see St. Mary's go, but I think the Tar Heels will continue their run.
What if I feed you this stat? St. Mary's doesn't allow opponents to take 3-pointers, but then is elite guarding the paint. top 10 in 2-point field goal percentage allowed and offensive rebounding rate. That is exactly what they need to be good at to beat this Carolina team.
And isn't that kind of like the blueprint that State did?
That is the blueprint.
Let's go.
Can we do it? Let's do it.
Let's knock out our first number one.
Let's not. Well, no, we knocked out UConn, but yeah, Carolina.
But Carolina doesn't make it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're taking St. Mary's there.
Love it.
Baylor, Arizona. This is, man. This would be a great game. I think Baylor, all the stats point towards Arizona here. But I would have taken Baylor to win the Big 12 tournament. I think, let's keep in mind this Baylor team won the national championship 3 years ago. They've still got some return. This coach has been there before, has won it all. Arizona, this could be a game in which they lose it like they did against Oregon in the Pac-12 tournament. I like Baylor here.
I do too.
Okay, I think Arizona could fall flat there. And then St. Mary's, Baylor. St. Mary's is a really good defensive team, like we mentioned, against the threes and in the paint. But I think this is probably where they stop. I just don't know. I can't see St. Mary's making it to a Final Four. I don't know if that's just why I'm picking against them here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could see it occur. I love St. Mary's watching them play, but I think it goes down to the coaching here. Coach already won national championship, as we said just a second ago, a few years ago. I think Baylor, just too much. Put Baylor in there.
I like Baylor too. And nothing to take away from St. Mary's. That's still a great season. You make the Elite Eight. You beat Carolina. That's a good season. But I like Baylor there, and I think that fits a little more. All right, so then Midwest. Purdue over TCU?
Yep.
Gonzaga over Kansas, I think we're both on.
Yep.
Creighton over South Carolina. Damn, that's a sneaky good game. Yeah. I hate that because I would have loved to see South Carolina advance. But and then Texas, Tennessee. How is Texas defensively? Tell me what you're thinking in this one. I want to look into some Texas defensive stats.
I've already said this, and I said this to, I wish I could say a fan of the podcast, but just the gentleman I ran into a couple weeks ago. Your top scorer hitting. I mean, that one game that I ended up watching. I mean, at the point Dalton ended up having 31 points, and the rest of the team had 23 at one point. I think you continue this magical little run, but you're going to have a team that you're not going to win in your next game. I would say Tennessee.
Yeah, I think it's also Tennessee. I'm not seeing anything here that really puts it a different way. Not a big pace difference. Tennessee takes a lot of threes. Texas doesn't allow many. They rank I think it was somewhere 57th in the nation in allowing the threes, but they don't have the makeup of the defensive team that I would want to see that would beat Tennessee here. So I think Tennessee pulls this one off. But I'll just go right back next to that game. But Creighton, I think, does have the blueprint to beat this Tennessee team. Very balanced on both sides of the ball. And I would arguably say they are probably the better three-point shooting team than Tennessee. They're going to beat them at their own game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree. Creighton.
And then Purdue and Gonzaga. Tough. This is tough.
Only because I got a future on either UConn or Purdue making it to the final, and I already kicked UConn out, so I would need Purdue to go. And I love Gonzaga, but I'm going to say Purdue just their big guy is just going to be too much.
Are you sure? I like Gonzaga here too. If you want to do it, they're are they? How are they defensively? Where's Gonzaga at? I mean, like, I feel like this is just another one of the weird ones too. You know, key defensive stats. Defensive, Gonzaga allowing 69.4% or 69.4 points per game, 47.3 effective field goal percentage, allowing 9.4 offensive rebounds, 25.7 defensive rebounds. Man, I could see it happening. I could see this team being able to outshoot Purdue from three.
I would absolutely love that Midwest final to be Gonzaga against Creighton. Absolutely love that. All right, let's do it. And I just threw my future away. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, FanDuel.
Well, maybe we'll put another. Maybe you'll have to put a future in on whoever we pick to win this one.
Yeah.
And then Gonzaga, Creighton. I'm taking Creighton.
Creighton.
Yep. All right. Well, we flew through those, and now it comes down to the big ones. Final Four in Glendale, Arizona. From the West and the East. I think this is a rematch from the Big 12 tournament. Iowa State versus Baylor. I'm going Iowa State.
I am too. Yep.
Okay. Easy. Houston, Creighton. Holy shit, what a game. What a game this would be. See, Creighton plays a really slow pace too. They have trouble against teams that push the tempo and force breakaways. I mean, but Houston's not really going to. They're not going to force the pace. They'll get some turnovers and stuff, but they're going to play it slow too. I don't know. I mean, this could honestly go either way. I feel like this could be a toss-up. Where are you leaning?
As much as I like Creighton and this run, I think Houston just athletes too much.
They're just too good, right?
Yeah, just too good.
Just too good. All right. Well, then that gives us, in our national championship on April 8th in Glendale, Arizona, a rematch of the Big 12 championship. Iowa State versus Houston. This Iowa State team that beat Houston twice in the regular season. Wait, no. Once in the regular season. They went 1-1, but then they were beaten in the Big 12 championship. Like I said, 69-41 on, I believe, Saturday. This would be a great game with two great defensive teams. Defense wins championships, and look what we got here. I think oh man, this is tough. My heart says Iowa State, but my mind tells me Houston as a redemption for losing the Big 12 championship. With 5 games under your belt at this point, they're moving. I have said it all year, and I will say it again, even with the loss in the Big 12 championship. I think Houston has been the best team in college basketball this year. I'm picking Houston to cut down the nets, but do you have Iowa State?
No, I don't. You mentioned it a couple times earlier. You know, it's hard to beat a team 3 times when we're in the tournaments. In their, I should say, in their divisional conference tournaments. I think Iowa State probably is looking. We'll look at Houston. Hey, we've already beat you once a couple weeks ago in a tournament. We can do it again, and Houston will say, "No, you're not."
Yeah, I think I agree there. We've got tiebreaker, how many total games will be scored in the championship game? For reference here, hold on, I'm going to bring up the first round totals again for both Iowa State and Houston to see if that gives us any sort of indication of where this game's going to go. If I can fucking find them. Where are they?
Well, you said the Big East, or I'm sorry, the Big 12 final was 69-40.
69-41. Houston's first game is at 127.5 in the first round. Iowa State, 133.5. 69-41 puts it at 110. Defensive, I don't know if it's not going to be like that again, but I could see something like a 65-62. That brings us to 127.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say in the 120 range. Yep.
All right. I like it. Any questions, comments, concerns before we submit it?
No. I mean, I like how we talked about it. I think this will not be totally my individual, only because, I got, some futures on some teams. So I think, for the record, I'll probably, unfortunately, take UConn over Iowa State, but I think that's going to be a very tight game. And I could lose it easily there too, but I think betting wise, since I got the future, I got to do that. But I like how we talked this through. No concerns. Again, Houston, fantastic national champion.
Yeah, I like it. We're going to go ahead and submit it to our New Era Bracket Challenge group. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, this is available for everybody to join. If you just search up A New Era Bracket Challenge, it's got the apostrophes around NE like our podcast name does too. Password is Boston. You can enter your brackets in here for a chance to win and beat us as well. I think we'll have this one in there from the podcast. You can put up to 2 submissions of brackets into the group. Me and Dad here will have our own individual ones in there too, but let's see who goes ahead and cuts down the net and see who cuts down the nets in our bracket challenge group as well. It should be a lot of fun. The link for it will also be in the description of this podcast episode. So go ahead and join that, and we'd love to see all of your brackets in there.
We have something to give the winner.
Yes, we do. We'll talk more about that as we get deeper into the March Madness once we get closer to the end of it. But looking forward to this. A lot of good basketball coming in. Like we mentioned on some of these games earlier when we were looking at these early lines, get some of those bets in early, beat the lines, beat the sharp money, see what you can do. There's going to be a lot of line movement throughout the week. There's a lot of money bet on March Madness. So we wish you good luck with your bets. We wish you good luck with your bracket. Dad, do you have anything else to say to the listeners before we close this one out?
No, I don't. Just see if you can beat us. I don't think it's going to happen, but try and beat us. That was pretty cocky, but I don't. That was
pretty cocky. We're gonna Houston's gonna get knocked out first round, and our whole bracket's gonna be fucking busted out because you said that. But all right, well, listeners, thank you guys so much for listening in to episode 11 of a New Era podcast. This one was strictly just us creating our bracket, but this was a lot of fun and our longest podcast yet. So if you want your in-depth breakdown, go through this and listen to what we did about these games. And if you got any questions, any comments about any of these games or your bracket, make sure to hit us up on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram at A New Era Podcast. You can send us emails, anewerapodcast@gmail.com. And on Facebook, you can just find us at A New Era Podcast. Yeah. I think we'll bring it up there too. So that'll be it for episode 11. We will catch you guys next week. And hopefully not too many brackets will be busted by the time for next episode.
That's true.
We'll see you guys then.
Love you, son.
Love you, Dad.